What's up guys, Ronnie here and welcome. And as you can see, I have here my maxed out Yeli. I played her for a week and now I want to go and give you guys my final verdict about her. Is she worth your summoning currency or should you skip? And let me tell you guys, I've been using her pretty much everywhere now in PvE, and I've also been using her heavily as my second AoE DPS in PvP for cleaving. That said, I still do not recommend pulling for Yeli at all. So how can I say that? Well, let me give you guys my reasoning for this, because for that we need to take a closer look at multiple things that are going to happen in this game. And first up is going to be the thing that I want to take a look at. We need to determine the worth of these Apex prototypes. The Apex prototypes, at the beginning we get more, after a while they're gonna be rare, they're gonna be expensive. And the Apex units, all of them are insane, as we all know, huh? The light and dark units. And there is a very high likeliness that the first Apex rerun that is going to come is gonna be a Lily and something like a class. Let's say after this banner is over, maybe they rerun a Lily banner and a class banner. Because why would they pass up on such an opportunity to make so much money? Maybe they would even wait with the Lily for another Apex unit that is insanely broken, so everyone spends their prototypes on that new unit and then they come in with the Lily. But the Lily definitely is more worth than her. And you have a very little amount of these prototypes that you get. And the thing is, you need to consider what kind of units are gonna come in the future instead of a Yeli, right? What do we see instead of the Yeli in the future in this banner? And in the future we can definitely see some units that provide a lot of utility for your team. Let's say, for example, a unit that counters sleep. In RTA, Kazuyo is very strong at the moment, especially because you can just, if you're a fast player, use a fast stripper, strip your opponent. Kazuyo would just perma CCs the entire team and you're cooked. So there's a very likely chance that they're gonna release an anti-sleep unit in here that, for example, could be like, okay, if a unit of my team gets slept, her passive procs, the new unit's passive procs, and just removes the sleep from everyone, gives everyone immunity, something like that. Same could be said for non-attack skills, right? For example, with the Lily Cleave, with the Tsukiyomi Cleave, there's a very likely going to be upcoming units that will have countermeasures against non-attack skills. For example, a passive that makes them push up or give some kind of buff to their team when your opposing team is gonna use a non-attack skill. And I need you guys to consider that when I go further into detail about the Yeli and my experience about the Yeli. Now that we know that, there is gonna be a guarantee that in the future are going to come some game changers that are more or less must-haves to be able to counter certain broken meta units. Right now they are gonna see what's gonna be meta, and eventually they're gonna just bring in the counter to the meta. And let me tell you about Yeli. First up, in the PvE aspect, I mainly just pulled her for the PvE. I just pulled her to get PvE because I was like, okay, my Ditting is very strongly geared, but he cannot deal with Inferno Rengokutsu. And I want him to be a bit more, I want a bit more of a consistent team for Inferno Aurora. And because she has multi-hits more than Ditting does, she's gonna destroy the shield of Aurora more and be safer there as well, and have a better clear rate on Aurora. So first up, Rengokutsu, I have her, and my Ditting is performing better than her in the Rengokutsu. Don't know why. Maybe it is because of this right here, right? Because we get all of these bonus stats here on these SR characters that we need to consider. Then on Aurora, she slightly performs better. Just like on Termaton, she slightly performs better. And in the Ember Track and so forth, of course, she's going to deal a bit more damage than the Tig, but you need to consider here, there's a lot of Latice investments. Just for a slight increase of damage that didn't really change the fact if I could beat the stage or not when I used the thing so far. For example, Aurora, I went from like 80% to 90% clear rate, or from a 75% to a 85% now with Yeli compared to the thing before. And in terms of the Rengokutsu, still can clear it, like I said. So in the PvE aspect, I already tell you this right now, it's a lot of investment of Latices just for having someone who's slightly better than the Ting, and you can just basically clear everything with the Ting anyways, everything that you want to farm. So for that aspect alone, it's not going to be worth your prototypes, because like I said, there is going to be some new banner that is going to come out with insanely game changer units that have insane counter mechanics, or a Lily banner, for example, that is very likely going to happen sometime in the future, and so forth. Then we have to look at the PvP aspect, right? In the PvP, how is she performing in the PvP? Well, like I said, I use her for my cleave team. She's very good in cleaving because she just has a lot of AoE damage and she has multi-hits, therefore works well with the Revelation. That said, Messiah is the better cleaver than her, but of course you can't just try to cleave with one AoE DPS, right? So she works as your second AoE DPS, but you can also just run a Rosa instead of the Yeli, because the Rosa works with the Revelation as well very, very well, right? And the thing is, just to have a bit better of a damage dealer than the Rosa with the Yeli, again, hard to justify for me for that, because quite frankly, she's gonna be an aggro unit. I've tried to play around with on Messiah mainly, but at the beginning a little bit with the Law of Silence, and Law of Silence is very much not worth it, because you can strip that void state, and as long as you can strip that, I don't think it's a good buff that you can get, and it's not going to be a very nice thing to have to ensure your DPS goes if you're a slow player. That's just the sad reality of Law of Silence. I think that void buff, that they can't be targeted, shouldn't be strippable, but that's just me. So it is only going to be an aggro unit. And most likely the people that are going to play aggro is going to be and cleave are going to be in the future, when we all run out of diamonds, the only ones that are going to be still resetting is going to be whales, and we're not going to be able to compete up with the whales in with their speed, and we will have to play turn 2. So in an RTA aspect, can also not recommend Yeli. So you have basically a bit of a better cleaver than a Rosa as your secondary cleaver than Messiah, right? You have a secondary cleave unit there, which is nice for, let's say, the next few months. But I'd rather recommend you guys to not pull for Yeli, take one step back, and then when a new unit comes out, boom, 5 steps forward, right? When someone that is going to be a game changer for your account. Because even for cleave units, right, in the future, there's very likely, for example, someone who's going to come out that self-pushes. Let's say your unit does an AoE attack, and then your new cleave DPS that is going to come out in the future will self-push after a unit of your team made an AoE attack. So therefore you wouldn't even need a push, right? For the Yeli you need a pusher. And all of that investment just to have her be strong and usable is not worth it in my opinion. If you pulled her, right, don't get me wrong, if you pulled her from the normal banner already, use her, guaranteed. She's not a bad unit, that's not what I'm saying here. Use her, build her up, invest in her, sure. But to go on and use your scarce resources of your Apex prototypes, just to then use your scarce resources of your Latisse to get a unit that quote unquote has replacements in PvE with the Ting and in PvP with someone like a Rosa, for example, in terms of AoE DPS. And also in, like I said, in PvP is more of an aggro unit that is not always going to be reliable for you to go for. So this is just my final verdict for you guys. If you have her, build her up. She's a good unit. But if you don't have her, you're not missing out. And you much rather save these scarce resources for someone who is gonna change your account, like a Lily or like a Doki Doki. If you have the money, of course, go for it, right? It's your money. Who am I to tell you what to do with your money? But if you're a small spender or free to play, do not recommend pulling for her. I wish you all a blessed day. Make sure to like and subscribe, as then your summoning luck will increase anyways. That's just the word in the streets. I'm Ronnie, and I'm out. Peace.